Hey, everybody, just having a little beach plum LaCroix here. I recommend the beach plum LaCroix. You need a little bit of, this is not a paid ad, by the way. You need a little refreshing flavor in your life and some bubbles to help deal with the reality all around us. I just wanted to pop on because, man, a lot of news has happened today in our kakistocracy, led by Donald Trump. He has appointed in the past, I guess, 26 hours or so, a weekend cable news host to be the Secretary of Defense, the person in charge of 3 million plus employees, the largest bureaucracy possibly in the world, and certainly maybe the most important or one of the top most important bureaucracies in the entire world. So, it gives us hope, those streamers for future positions in the cabinet. But and then after that, we had Tulsi Gabbard, a Russian. Some people are throwing around the word asset, but certainly somebody that's a big fan of Russia, and a huge fan of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. She was. So she's going to be the head of our intelligence, national intelligence. And then my old pal, Matt Gaetz, who I've had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with over the years. And he, I guess, has been nominated to be the Attorney General. There's much there. News from Axios just breaking as I got on is that Gaetz pitched this to Trump this morning on the plane. Hey, everybody. And so anyway, all this stuff together, and I was like, I want to talk about this. You guys want to talk about it? I want to hang. And so let's just do a little Q&A. So you put your Q's in the comments. We'll see how this goes. People like it. I'll do it from time to time when crazy shit happens. So for starters, life on Mars. Tim, will he survive the Senate confirmation process? He, I assume, is Gaetz in this case, though there are two people that could apply to with Hegseth. So life on Mars. We are very much on Mars right now, in a sense. Another reason why I wanted to do this is I think that a lot of people out there are missing it. Like the commentary that I'm seeing on my X and from congressmen on the Hill of both parties, including I was on a cable with Eric Swalwell today. It seems like there's a big percentage of people out there that do not think he'll be confirmed by the Senate. And I think that that's wrong. I mean, maybe I'm going to end up being wrong. But there are two things at play here. There's the conspiratorial theory that this is like some kind of 5-dimensional chess thing, that Trump is leaving Gaetz as a sacrificial lamb because of the Gaetz investigation that was about to be released, which we can talk about in a minute, or that it's like some secret deal. It's the secret between Mike Johnson and Trump. It's how they're going to get rid of their problem child. Man, I'm just not seeing that. And I've been talking to Mark Caputo, who's our reporter on the MAGA beat, who I think is going to be out with more details on all of this in a little bit. But just my intuition, what I'm hearing through Caputo, what I'm hearing through other people, Trump wants Gaetz. This is not a multi-dimensional chess thing. That this is Gaetz was in his debate prep, kind of a failed debate prep, if you don't recall. And kind of a failed debate prep there, but they have a good relationship for both Florida men. And Trump, that's the one job where he needs the most shameless loyalist, the DOJ, because that is, the area where he wants to break the norms. And he wants to make sure he doesn't deal with what he dealt with last time with special counsels and Jeff Sessions recusing himself. He wants to root out the people that were part of the Russia hoax, all that. Go after foes potentially. And so he wants a loyalist in there. And so I think he wants Gaetz. Okay, so that takes away the 5-dimensional chess theory. Then there is the Trump's just dumb and he hasn't done the vote counting, and the Senate will kill it. And I'm not saying there's a 0% chance of this. We are in uncharted territory, people. That's why we're all here together right now. We're in totally uncharted territory, and I do not think that that it's 100% the Gaetz gets through. But to me, I think one of two things is likely. Number one, if you're Republican senators, once you draw one line, you got to start deciding whether or not to draw lines. And I think that the easiest thing for Republican senators to do is Mr. Trump just got a mandate from the country, and Mr. Trump, should be able to choose his own team. And so I'm not going to nitpick him. He's the one that the American people, 78 million, whatever it ends up being, chose. That's the easiest answer for a Republican senator to give. And Republican senators have shown themselves to be cowardly and spineless, and so I expect them to give their easiest answer. If there is a cadre of them that are no, I mean, you figure Lisa Murkowski is probably a no, at least as she indicated she was. Some of the retiring ones, McConnell, Tillis, maybe they DGAF now. I don't expect this, but let's just say that's the case. Trump has been previewing that he wants to do recess appointments. And so there's a lot of ways that could happen. We can talk about that too, but I don't see why he wouldn't recess appoint his attorney general. I think Trump would almost love for the Republican senators to try to stop Gaetz and for him to push him through anyway. Like, he loves humiliating people. So anyway, that's my starting point. We'll keep talking about this. And Sebastian and Jim, if you want to put any good comments you see over in the private chat too, we got a lot of people coming through, and so it's hard for me to keep track of everybody. But here we go. This man performed fellatio on a microphone. Yes, he really is that stupid. That's a good point. Those things silver. This is a great question, Persimmon Puddin'. Why do these people keep thinking Repubs are going to show any integrity? How many times do they have to roll over and bend the knee before people get it? Great question. Great question. I don't know. I don't. It seems like even some of these Republicans aren't. I feel like I know the Republican members of Congress better than they know themselves. Like you got this guy, Mike Simpson from Idaho, Tom Cole from Oklahoma. We're giving these quotes on the Hill today about how, oh, this is crazy. And no, I don't have a comment on this. All of these people are going to fold. Somebody tweeting at me about like, well, you get Dave McCormick and John Curtis. New senators are not going to do, their first thing is not going to be to buck Donald Trump. So I don't see it. Jessica asks, how bad does that have to get before any Republicans push back? That's, I think, the operative question. We didn't know where Mike Pence's breaking point was, right, until it happened. So I do think that it's possible as we get later into the Trump administration that some of these people, particularly the retiring senators, will eventually have enough. Not out of courage, but just frankly out of exhaustion and just maybe at some point their vengeance will hit them. So I think that is, I think that's possible. That's not going to happen in the first week. That's why I think that these guys get through. Interesting question there that just popped up on the screen. I missed who it was from. Sorry. But the question is, who's a bigger threat, Tulsi? Oh, there it is. Theo Allen. Tulsi is DNI or Gaetz is AG. And I guess my answer to this is like just thinking probabilistically. I think Tulsi is a bigger, has the bigger risk. I think we know what we're going to get from Gaetz. Gaetz is going to do what Trump wants. He is going to use the department to target potentially some political foes. That's really bad. He's going to use it to, go after liberal nonprofits and stuff. I think everybody's got to get lawyered up if you're in progressive nonprofit world, things of that nature. But I think he's also going to want to use it to demagogue immigrants and gangs and all that sort of stuff, which is criminals should be arrested. But, so he's going to want to he'll be a much more PR forward DOJ, to say the least. And of course, he'll clean house of anybody that went after Trump or was critical of Trump. And that's bad in itself. I mean, that was literally the Saturday Night Massacre in Nixon, that brought Nixon down, right? Was doing stuff that we just expect to be the baseline of what Gaetz is going to do. And I think there'll be some people that self-deport if Gaetz really gets through, a lot of DOJ people that'll leave. So that's bad. There you go. That's Rolf's question. I couldn't tell. Ari Fleischer sent a tweet about how a lot of DOJ lawyers are going to resign. And at first I thought he was indicating that was a bad thing, but then I reread it closer and I think that Ari likes that now. I don't know. What's happened to him. He's fully on board the Trump authoritarian project, I guess. But I think some will resign from DOJ over Gaetz for sure. And I think that some will be excised. And so I think that's really bad. So please don't please don't be confused about what I think that threat is. It's just kind of like a known threat. And I feel like we have a pretty good sense of what Gaetz will do. Tulsi is a much bigger wild card at DNI. Like, I mean, I forget who it was. It was somebody that was like in an Israel lobbying group was like, she's a couple marbles short of a jar, and we just hope the marbles in there are blue and white for supporting Israel, but we don't know yet. She's got some screws loose. Like Gaetz, here's the thing about Gaetz. It's a show. Gaetz is not an idiot. Okay, it's a show. He knows how to put on a show, and he's tactical, and he's extreme, and he'll go for Trump. That's a good question, Kelly. I'll get to that next. Tulsi, might be literally, seriously crazy. And we saw what happens with people that are actually crazy around Trump with Mike Flynn, and it was like, thank God that Mike Flynn got pushed out very early in Trump 1.0, because we've seen what happened to him. He's in a complete he literally should be in an insane asylum. And so, and the types of stuff that he advocates now is just like straight fascist, and Christo nationalists and extreme and crazy and conspiratorial, and he's all in on QAnon. So is that where does Tulsi fit on that? Kind of line from Gaetz, who's kind of smart and savvy, but is going to be a Trump foot soldier, to being like a lunatic, and that's pretty disturbing that it could be a lunatic that is controlling our intelligence, a lunatic that has sympathies with Russia, that we know has had contacts with hostile foreign governments, many. So to me, it's like, if I imagine the worst case scenario, the Tulsi worst case scenario seems like the worst to me, because it's like something could come up that was like no precedent in our history, about the way that she was dealing with hostile foreign powers and foreign agents with our intelligence. So I'm not predicting that. I just think that the whole range of options with her is more dangerous. Kelly, will they even care about Senate confirmations at all, or will they forever be acting? Yeah, I don't. Okay, so I don't think that they are going to care. There's some things about salaries, I guess, where you can't, if you're acting, you might not be getting paid, and so that could be a problem for people that are not independently wealthy. There are potential legal challenges, like the acting situation at the end last time was in the last year of his term, and there just wasn't a lot of appetite, because there are all the other legal questions with Trump to actually challenge it through the courts. If you start with acting, I think they open themselves up. This is something we'll be talking about with our legal experts over the course of the next weeks and months. But I think potentially some vulnerabilities there. But I think Trump is happy to not have anybody confirmed. I had an exchange with Chuck Todd on Twitter today, where Chuck Todd was talking about how the cable ratings are going to be saved by the confirmation hearings of these crazy people. And I'm like, why are we sure that there will be Senate confirmation hearings? I'm not. The Ed Whelan, who's a conservative lawyer, who's been kind of anti-Trump, not as rabidly as those of us at the Bulwark, but kind of one of more of these anti-Trump people, but is still supportive of a lot of the surrounding conservative apparatus besides Trump himself. He was posting today that he's heard that they have already identified a constitutional way, what they think is a constitutional way. Ed wasn't saying that he thought it was constitutional. Ed was saying he thought it was very concerning. But they have already come up with some rationale for recess appointing the whole cabinet, and so that wouldn't be acting; they'd be recess appointed, and then they'd have to challenge that in court. So there you go. Diane Smith says, "Oh, hey Diane, what's up? I like having people with different views here. Gaetz will never be confirmed. Tulsi and Marco are great picks." That's interesting. Again, we'll see. Many people think I'm wrong about this. I think I don't understand what reason anybody would have to think that Matt Gaetz is not going to be confirmed, because it would require Republican senators at the beginning of the Trump administration to use political capital to challenge Trump. Why? And I just don't see them doing that. It's possible that that it happens, I guess. But then, if so, I don't know why anybody would assume that the other pick would be better than Gaetz. I'm also a little bit confused about Diane's assessment that Tulsi and Marco are great picks. Tulsi and Marco have opposite views on foreign policy. It's the only through line between Trump's foreign policy picks is Fox News presence, because Tulsi is a pro-Assad, Russia sympathizing isolationist, anti-war isolationist. Marco is a war hawk, anti-Iran. He softened a bit on Russia, anti-China. Wanted aggressive action in Syria. Like, Marco and Tulsi have opposite views. So if you like both of them, I think maybe you don't understand one or the other. There's political views, or you don't care. You think it's interesting that Trump has a team of rivals or whatever. But anyway, Diane, welcome. Thank you. It's contrary views are welcome here. Judy, do you think the Senate will voluntarily go on recess so Trump can push through these crackpots? I mean, people. Yeah. So, this is a little bit outside of my wheelhouse as a non-Hill guy, but the gist of what Ed Whelan was putting forth here. Let me just pull this up. All right, here we go. So let's pull this, what Ed said. I'm hearing through the grapevine about this bonkers plan. Trump would adjourn both houses of Congress under Article 2, Section 3, and then recess appoint his cabinet. As predicate for Trump's exercise of adjournment power, one house of Congress would seek the other house's consent to adjourn and be denied. So Speaker of House would need to be complicit in the evisceration of Senate's advice and consent role. House Speaker Mike Johnson needs to say no to this gambit. So this is where me and Ed part ways. I just don't see Mike Johnson saying no to anything of that, like, process oriented that Trump wants. So they have the House and the Senate. It seems like there's a way that Mike Johnson and Trump could work this out to get both chambers in recess at the same time. I think that's very possible. Which cabinet position do I see for Hulk Hogan? I saw Scott Jennings was pushing Hulk Hogan for the cabinet, or no, for the Senate. Excuse me, Scott Jennings, very serious CNN commentator, wants Hulk Hogan to be the Senate appointee, replacing Marco Rubio. TA, how much more power is SCOTUS going to hand over to the executive branch over the next 4 years? I think some. I think SCOTUS is going to be very hesitant to want to pick fights with Trump early on. I do think I'm a little less alarmist than people that are the most concerned about the court at the Bulwark and elsewhere. I will feel differently if, God forbid, one of the three Dems on the court passes away, so that slot gets repeated. I think that'd be concerning. But I think that at the end of the day, Roberts, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh, and the three Dems obviously will want to not make Trump an actual king. Like, I think that what they wanted to do with the immunity thing was keep optionality open. Frankly, I'm not defending this decision anyway, but I do think that if they see the end, and you got to remember, these are all very short-term thinkers, and they're inside the box thinkers. They do not see the world that we do. I don't think they really believe that Donald Trump is going to try to run again in 2028 or any of that. And so if they think that they can kind of survive the 4 years, and they're concerned about the SCOTUS's integrity, I think that they give away some small ball stuff. Well, big ball, but small ball in the grand scheme of things as compared to dictatorship to Trump over the course of the first terms, and then try to put a hammerlock down towards the end on the kind of the worst options. That's an interesting topic, though, that I should do more with George Conway on next time I have George on the pod. Are Republicans in danger of threatening their majority by Trump's so many House members? I did a video with Joe Perticone about this. You can go check out if you want longer answer. But the short of it is, we think that the Republicans will end up with like 221. And so 3 members now have left. So that takes you to 218. But they aren't in swing seats. Conceivably, the Stefanik seat could be winnable for Dems. I think unlikely, but the other two are deep red seats. So there might be a period of time where it's like 218, 215. I don't think that they're not going to give away their majority though, but they could. I mean, hamstring themselves from being able to do anything. I think it's going to be through Congress legislatively. We've seen this in the past, particularly on budget stuff. So, since Cannon didn't get AG, do you think she might get a SCOTUS seat? Eileen's up for something. Aileen, she's up for something. We'll have to monitor that for sure. The other interesting Gaetz thing, as I pull in some more questions here, is his resignation. This has led to some conspiracy theories out there. There you go. Gaetz resigning was evidently avoiding the House ethics report. Will we ever see it, Tim? This feels like something that leaks, right? It's a bipartisan House Ethics Committee, so I do think it's something that leaks. But yeah, I like Reed 01 there. What you're saying, I'm always Occam's razor on the conspiracies. It's like, look, he's trying to avoid this how dealing with this House Ethics report that's supposed to come out on Friday. There are others that were like positing that that's this elaborate plan to have Gaetz not be the AG, but he leaves and he gets cover. And there are a lot of different theories out there. I think that the most simple theory here is true, that he wants to try to avoid this report coming out, and that he convinced Trump that he would be a loyalist in there. Laura Loomer for press secretary DSW says down there, I don't believe this, but maybe Laura Loomer for that Gaetz House seat. I don't think that's a crazy. It would be insane for Laura Loomer to be in Congress, but I don't think it's crazy to think that might be something that they're thinking about. The press secretary thing, I think the favorite for that appears to be Caroline Leavitt, who ran for the Congress in New Hampshire, lost, and then was on the campaign. Jeremy, Ezra Klein with the Pod Bros said that Musk has threatened to primary any House or Senate members that go against Trump agenda. Have you heard this, and how can democracy survive this? I'm going to have a little more Beach Plum here. Yeah, I mean, democracy can survive rich people primarying people over ideological ends. I mean, that's happened with both parties. I think that the Elon thing, I think the Elon thing is going to be interesting to watch. I don't know that Elon knows what he's getting into here on a couple of fronts. There's already that NBC report today that Trump might be getting annoyed with him. They're not even in the White House yet. So, that honeymoon might be running out. These primaries, a lot of smarter people than Elon have tried this, primarying people to advance their own agenda. It's a lot harder than it sounds. It's easy if you're a bandwagon jumper, if you're, giving voters what they already would have wanted. But I don't think that there's going to be a ton of resistance to Trump's agenda. So I'm not sure how many people he's going to have to primary. I think there'll be some complexities because Trump doesn't like to get out of the details. It's like, well, what's the Trump agenda going to be on the tax bill? I don't think Trump's going to write a tax bill. They're going to try to negotiate one. I think it's going to be very hard to negotiate how to deal with the offsets and all that. But I think we have a lot more acute problems than the tax bill. Lindsey Graham, he won the election. He deserves a chance to pick his cabinet. I'm predisposed to allow him to do that. I think Matt Gaetz is very bright. I think he's qualified. There you go. I think that's what you're going to get from most of these guys. I really, again, there's a simple path here. Collins and Murkowski say no. Two of the retiring guys like Tillis or McConnell say no. I guess we don't know that Tillis is retiring, but two of the older members that are seeing the exit say no. That's four. Then he's blocked. That's a stretch itself. But even if he does that, then you have the recess appointment option. So I don't know what the Poly Market situation is. It seems like Poly Market was raided by the FBI today. The actual Department of Justice seems to be going to do some work here over the next few months before the what do we call it? The Toy Story Department of Justice takes over. The Keystone Department of Justice and takes over. So anyway, Poly Market, which is that gambling site, apparently the head of that got raided today, which isn't surprising. That just smelled like a scam and a money laundering thing from the start. But if it's still allowing wagers, I'd be wagering on Gaetz getting it. Isn't it crazy? I'm just kind of glancing at the questions here. It's like Pete Hegseth. It's like old news. you know, old news. We're not all these questions. It's like Gaetz, Tulsi, and it's like it was just yesterday that a Fox and Friends host got named to run the Defense Department. It's lunacy to say. Sorry about that. It's lunacy that Pete Hegseth to run the Defense Department, and that's a real job, like a real agency, real management expertise needed. And it's like he wrote a book about wokes and trans people and stopping and Dylan Mulvaney from the Bud Light can. He's going to run the Defense Department. I mean, it's just like it's a total clown show. Pete Hegseth is going to be patient zero for a new COVID. He also doesn't believe in germs. He also doesn't believe in germs, which is interesting. Let's see what else we got. It's Steve Banstridge. We've done this. Tim. Let's see. What did Chris Murphy say? I was interested in that one. Murphy said on CNN that if Senate decides to recess, so it would be the end of the Senate. No point turning up to work. Founding fathers would roll in their graves. That feels a little dramatic to me. I mean, I think Senator Murphy is right to be sounding an alarm, big time. So totally. But look, this is the deal. Like they've got 53 votes. They're gonna try all these. They're gonna abuse the norms, abuse the rules. It might be the end of the way that the Senate had worked traditionally, but for now, there'll be an election in 2 years, and the Democrats will have an opportunity to take the Senate back, stop this stuff. So I don't know that I agree it's the end of the Senate. I do agree that the founding fathers are rolling over in their graves. Let's see here. These people can't be embarrassed. I agree with that. Fishbone, Chris Murphy's pretty sharp. I do agree with that. Jake Douglas, do you think Tucker will get press czar? Tucker's going to be around. Are you ready for this? Everybody sit down. All this shit is about confirmable positions, right? I knew it was going to be a clown show, and I knew he was going to have a parade of freaks around him. Like, if you'd said to me the day before the election, I'm from the future, it's a week, Trump is going to win, he'll have named his cabinet, like, what do you think is going to happen? I think that my first likelihood instinct was that he would have appointed bare minimum qualifications people to the cabinet slots, like a sitting attorney general that was a pro-insurrectionist or something, like the Missouri attorney general comes to mind for attorney general, or one of Mike Lee, one of the more MAGA supporters. And then he would put into non-confirmable positions people like Gaetz, Tulsi, Pete Hegseth, Mike, Jeff Clark, the whole cast of characters on Bannon's War Room. Like that's what I would have expected. And so I think that second part is still coming. I mean, you think it's crazy now. I mean, just wait until you see who's going to be getting the unconfirmable jobs. TA, remember when some folks kept reassuring us that Susie was going to calm down the worst impulses and said, not so fast, my friends. Yeah, thank you, TA. Ridiculous. The Susie Wiles thing. It was like, have people lived through this? Susie is right. They were both my bosses, actually, so I can speak to that directly. Susie is right. Susie's a little sharper than Wrights, I guess I would say. But they're both pleasers and managers, right? They both. I think Susie will say no more times than Reince, because Reince was never going to say no. Here's a little story for you. I'll get to that next, Natasha. When Reince got the job in 2016, it was about this time then. I sent him a text, and I was just like, you know where I stand on this. I'm just going to let you know that the most important thing you're going to have to do over the next 4 years is say no. And you're going to have to buck yourself up to say no when he wants to do things that are not, whatever, in line. And Reince didn't reply. He replied to me like weeks later with kind of like an okay, buddy. I forget what it was. I think I included this in the book. I could go find the actual text. But, he was never going to say no. He never did, right? And the idea that Susie is going to be saying no to things like Matt Gaetz or Pete Hegseth is just not it. Like Susie might say no, like if he wants to tweet something really wild one day or whatever, if there's some like really extreme, but like that. I mean, Susie couldn't keep Laura Loomer off the plane. So everybody just come on. Why did Vivek not get an actual cabinet position? Here's where my conspiracy mongering is coming. Not conspiracy, but I don't know. I got some sources in Vivek world. I might make some calls because I don't get it. I don't get why he's not in the cabinet, and I don't get why he's not running for that Senate seat. Maybe he wants to be governor of Ohio, but that doesn't really seem like Vivek. So I don't know. Maybe he just wants to hang out with Elon because he figures he'll make more money that way. That's a working theory I've got. Have you not embarrassed yourself enough yet? Oh, thanks for hanging out. Roseanne Barr is White House press secretary. I don't think that Barr is there. Haba will be press secretary. Somebody says, oh, I'm hearing Haba will not be press secretary, and that was a leak to actually try to kill her. I think Caroline Leavitt is going to be in the spot there. What else? Do we have anything else? You put kids at the kids table. The kids table is the people who are running the show. The kids table are in charge now, so they will be there. It was a boomer meme. Well, wait to see if you guys have any other questions. I usually don't get tickled by little boomer memes, but this one got me today. It was something to the effect of, you remember in The Lion King when Scar took the throne illegitimately, and then the whole Pride lands became decimated and dark, and the hyenas were his closest advisors? Yeah, that's our life. That's where we're at. Lauren Boebert, Department of Ed. We're not going to have a Department of Ed anymore. Eunice S. They're working on that. So sorry. Don't think that's right. Rich P doesn't like Vivek. Cringy ass person. What about Patel? So Patel, this isn't a good example. I forget who I missed who asked that there. But like, what about Kash Patel? That, for people who don't know, Kash Patel was one of the people that were most intimately involved in the attempted coup last time around. Totally unqualified. But I think like, he's the type of guy that like gets deputized as like a deputy to Tulsi or to Gaetz or to Hegseth. And that's not Senate confirmable. So I think that whole cast of characters like Kash Patel will be in, and I think in non-confirmable positions. Javanka, I do not believe will be in. They were not on the campaign until the final day. Jared's getting paid by the Saudis, and I think that they are happy to be cashing in on access to their dad and father-in-law. Will Marjorie get some kind of position? They got to be close to being done with House people. I think they got to be close to being done with House people because, ostensibly they're going to have to pass something. Are you looking forward to be one of the best connected journalists? Not really. I don't think I will be one of the best connected ones, but unfortunately, I do know the people in the MAGA world better than I wish I did. Let's see. Where does Johnny McEntee end up? It's interesting. So the old Johnny McEntee job, people who don't know him, that's the guy that has the Date Right Stuff website. They called him deputy president in the first administration because he was in charge of personnel. He was the person they put in there middle of the term to get rid of the people that they felt like were not loyal enough to Trump. That job, I saw reporting today from Semaphore. There were three names. I forget the third name, but the top two contenders for that job were Sergio Gore, who I know. He was Rand Paul's flack, and Blake Masters, the American Psycho guy that ran for Senate and then House in Arizona and lost both times. I think that's kind of hilarious that Blake Masters thought he was going to be a senator, and now he's competing with like Rand Paul's goofy flack for this job that Johnny McEntee had in the last administration. But they find it to be an important job because they want to make sure that there's not anybody in the government that sent a tweet making fun of Donald Trump ever. So where does McEntee go then? I don't want to speculate. That's something we should keep our eye out for, though. But I think he's another type of person that gets in one of these non-confirmable positions. Kevin McCarthy, Schadenfreude is pretty good. Nobody hates Matt Gaetz more than Kevin McCarthy and vice versa. And there were some rumors that Kevin McCarthy was going to be the chief of staff. Welp. Guess my Kevin picking out the special Skittles and M&Ms for Trump didn't pay off too much for him. So we'll see. I guess I'll have to go lobby. Sober up to him. I'm sober, bro. Cristo, I'm sober. I wish I was drinking. I'm having this beach plum LaCroix we've been talking about. Matt Gaetz has dirty laundry with 2-ish months to go. Seems extra dumb for some of these people. He's a red herring. I don't think he's a red herring. I think I'm slurring. That's just how I talk. That's kind of rude. Why can't you give up Twitter? Great question. One, I'm addicted. But two, here's the thing. I'm giving you guys all stuff that you're gonna enjoy before this. So this might just be a harsh reality. I don't enjoy closed spaces of any kind. Really, ideologically closed spaces, echo chambers of any kind. And I really don't enjoy progressive echo chambers. Threads I found to be unbearable. It's like if you posted anything that was not right in line with the liberal orthodoxy of the day, you got piled on. During the Biden time, the nasty stuff that people said to me on Threads about me saying that Biden had a bad debate and that he should step aside to try to save the country. The type of things people said to me were like nastier than almost anything any MAGA person says to me. And I don't think it's healthy for people to be in spaces where they just get the approved view of one side reinforced, and if anybody that challenges it gets piled on. I don't find it pleasant. I think it would make me dislike people who are who are on my side now in this fight against Donald Trump. I don't want to unnecessarily create tensions within my own side of this battle, and I also don't think it's helpful for my job. I know what anti-Trump resistance people think, so I don't need to see what they think. I think as a user, you guys are out there, if you just are like looking for a place to see the news and hear what's happening, and it's fine to go to Blue Sky or Threads or whatever, because you can see it and you're gonna see the latest from what kind of resistance anti-Trump news outlets have, and so you'll be informed. That's perfectly fine. But like I'm already kind of fucking informed because I have to obsess over this stuff all the time. So yeah, it's not fun for me. And on Twitter, frankly, I think it's good for me to see what all the MAGA people are saying. I do it so you guys don't have to. And fundamentally, somebody's got to communicate to them, even if it's hopeless. So I'm not leaving. Sorry. Gustavo, how could anyone not like you? That's a great question. Something my mom asks a lot. And, something I had to deal with in therapy for a little while. But yeah, some people don't like me. It's okay. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. It's like 80-20. I could do worse. Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Gail. Jack M. Will we ever hear an honest... Susan Wiles is the daughter of Pat Summerall. That is true. Let's see. Question looking into 2029. Could he be convicted? I don't think there's a lot of hope of that. That'll be a question for George Conway on the next podcast that we have with him. What actual action could Trump take unilaterally that worries me the most? That's a great question. So, I mean, the two things that are going to happen are the deportations and the tariffs. So I guess those are things that worry me the most, in the sense that I think they're the most acute things that are going to be problems, and they're going to happen. So that is the more short-term thing. The longer term, this is probably going to be an unsatisfying answer, but I just think that everyone across the board, even anti-Trumpers, even people like me who have Trump derangement syndrome, it's hard to let your brain kind of imagine all of the potential bad outcomes, because there are things that are so far outside. Could I have ever imagined that the Capitol was going to be stormed by Trump fans? If you had asked me in 2016 what's my biggest worry, I just don't think I could have conjured that image because we didn't have any frame of reference for it, And so to me, it's like the thing that worries me the most is what is the thing I'm not thinking of that he could do? Because the deportations are going to happen. Targeting protesters, I think it's going to happen. Probably targeting some of the people that went after him legally is going to happen. I forget what I didn't just say there. Tariffs. So all that's just going to happen there. My question is like, what? Because like the Hegseth thing is a good example. It's like when I heard that, I just laughed because I was like, I knew it was going to be a bunch of clown freaks, but I didn't even think it'd be Hegseth. So that's the thing that worries me is that people get used to craziness and the Overton window moves and it can move in ways that you don't really expect. How do I see the deportations actually happening? I think that they'll be deputizing these sheriffs, these constitutional sheriffs in Texas and Arizona, and kind of letting the leash off them and letting the leash off ICE. So that's starters, and then I think there'll be some show raids of businesses, and then I think that there will be an assessment of what to do. I also think that there'll be some really draconian new rules about refugee. We won't have refugees anymore. Asylees. Maybe they come after the Haitians and the people that are here on special emergency visas. So I think that that's probably it. You don't go after 15 million with one bite. I think you kind of loosen the rules to let these sheriffs and ICE agents, be much more aggressive and let them know that Trump will have their back and they'll pardon them or whatever if they, if anybody tries to create problems. And then I think there'll be some show raids. And then it's possible it ends up being like a wall situation where he does like a third of it and calls it a victory. But or they might continue. So that's kind of what that's what hops straight to mind. All right, I've been talking for a while. We'll go a couple more if you have a couple more, and then I'll be back on the podcast tomorrow. Is Jokic the best player on the planet? Of course, Jokic is the best player on the planet. I'll be seeing him here. No, we can still have some happiness in this world. I'll be seeing Nikola Jokic and the beauty that he is on Friday here in New Orleans at the Pelicans game. What else here? Anything else? Any final questions? Will Mexico pay for the wall? I do not think that they will. I do not think that they will. We've got a fun. I think Bannon's happy as the outside agitator, maybe. So I don't know that he goes back in. I think he's a happy man right now. We've got a great doubleheader on the pod tomorrow. It's a little bit sweet and salty kind of a vibe, but we added somebody to the pod because just these times call for some dunking. I think we got to do a little dunking in addition to being serious. So how's the House look? Yeah, I said earlier, I think 221 is probably where Republicans land, maybe 222. So narrow majority. Who wins the SEC? I think Tennessee's a little bit of a sleeper, but Texas looks like the best team to me. Will Elon switch sides once Trump fucks him? I don't think so. I don't know. Elon, who the hell knows? You could decide to focus on Mars instead, but I do think that they'll get sick of each other pretty soon. All right, one more. Do we have one final question? Anything? Chance of Vance getting rid of Trump using the 25th Amendment? Dream on, y'all. Dream on. I don't see that happening. Will the Broncos make the playoffs? It's gonna be tight. Broncos and Bengals fighting out that 7th slot. Get some rest. I appreciate that, guys. I'm fine. I'm rejuvenated. I will take a vacation next year sometime. At least while I still have a visa that's working. So I will do that. But I'm going to be around. New to Bulwark Plus and loving it. Yes, thank you. That's how we should end. Elaine, I should have plugged becoming a Bulwark Plus member. Ugh, Sebastian reminded me to do it and I forgot. Do that. Come hang out with us. You get special. We do these more often off of YouTube, private for members. You can also comment. We have a great community. So you can comment on the podcast I do, on the articles that JVL writes and everyone else, obviously. I don't want to short shrift anybody, so I'm not going to start naming names. But come do it. It's a cool community. We really appreciate it. The money goes right back into the Bulwark, so we can we're gonna have to, I think, hire some more reporters to cover this shit show because it's so crazy. So we appreciate you. If you just go to thebulwark.com/subscribe, and we would love that. And let me know what you think in the comments of this, whether this was a useful exercise, doing a little streamer style Q&A. I kind of enjoy it. And there you go on the screen, thebulwark.com/subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, a doubleheader pod. So we got plenty of shit for you. And what a fucking world. What a clown world we're in. Have a good night rest. All right. Take an Ambien if you need one. We'll see you guys soon.